Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner. It's Monday morning. Well, no, it's not morning. It's actually nearly 20 past 12 today. And today it's the 23rd of May. Did I say it's Monday? It is Monday. And I'm suffering a bit from a migraine. I woke up with it and I've tried to sleep it off. I've taken some headache pills. They're beginning to kick in. And while I'm still able to function, I thought I'd come and do a video for you before I collapse back in bed to sleep the dregs of it off, because that's what happens. I end up extremely tired. No idea what's triggered it or anything. It is what it is. I woke up with it and, you know, things happen. So I thought I'd spend some time this morning because I'm out of coloured pages in my journal, my sketchbook. And I just thought it might be nice to spend a little bit of time doing these, going over it again, and perhaps doing some drawing afterwards. I'm just looking here for the ink I just used. I've got my distress inks out. I'm not using gesso and neocolours or Inktense today. It's just a bit too messy for me to deal with when I'm in a headachy mood. I feel okay within myself. It's just that my brain is a bit slower and I just find it almost difficult to think and speak well. But I know I need to do something. Oh gosh, that's not even showing up. So I did a good job of picking that ink up on my brush, didn't I? It's fine, it will do. It just takes a while to moisten the brushes with the ink. Oh, look at that. That's fun. I like that. Stencils are so much fun, and I haven't bought any for years. Every now and again I think, oh, shall I get some more? And I think, no. But by the same token, I'd be happy to almost paint backgrounds on as well. But I find this a really nice thing to do, and it gives just that hint of pattern or variation in the background, which is, you know, pleasing. It's that texture. So while I'm doing this, and it is going to be watching paint dry perhaps, I'll see how I get on. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed here. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. I really, really do. And I know I say it every single time, but I really, really do. And all the lovely messages as well. Thank you so much. And for people who are sharing or giving me a shout out and so on, thank you ever so much as well. Because it's always nice. It's always nice when people think that what I'm doing has value for others as well. I do my best because that's all any of us can do, and I'm imperfect. I get things wrong, and you know, like everybody, I'm aware that what I create isn't always to everybody's taste or needs or wants, and that's fine by me, because the world would be a very dull and uninspiring place if everybody was the same, wouldn't it? Now, I may have gone over the top with the background pattern there, but I think it's okay because it will be fine in the fullness of time. So I used, if you've got distress inks, I'm not saying you have to go out and buy them, because there are so many ways to create pattern textured coloured backgrounds. It's just what I like to use. I've got them, I've had them for years, I'm going to use them. And even when I run out of re-inkers, I most probably will buy more re-inkers. Because I don't know whether the pads will degrade, hopefully not. But the colours I used, I thought I wanted to use Victorian Velvet to begin with, but I picked up Tattered Rose. So I've got a mixture of Tattered Rose, Victorian Velvet, picked raspberry, I always call it pickled. And then this orangey colour is dried marigold. And I just thought it would be it's just nice to, it's those warm colours, it's that bit of warmth and joy. And here I have, I'm reaching across, I'm sorry, because I've put them to one side. I've just got a baby wipe here, so I can just clean that ink off my stencil and leave it to dry. Ready for my next wipe of the stencil. I think with this one I may go back over it with a bit of pink just to remove some of that, just to knock some of the orange back in places perhaps, or to give it that little bit of a bit of a pinker tone in places. I'm not trying to obliterate it completely, but just to get a bit more subtlety perhaps. There we go, that'll be fine. And I'm not going to spray this with water or anything, it's going to stay exactly as it is. Now then, this one is just pickled raspberry. Pickled raspberry. And I think I'm going to add some seedless preserves to it. Seedless preserves is a lovely sort of, well, it's between purple and pink really. But it's just got that slightly cooler tone to it. So how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing fine and well. And that, well, it's Monday today. I hope that Monday finds you well. And if it's a different day for you, I hope that day finds you well as well. Because, well, you know, I just hope you're all fine and well, because that's what we can hope for each other, isn't it? And being creative, of course. I haven't answered any comments that were left yesterday or Saturday yet. I will get round to them while this video is processing and uploading, because I'll do that before I collapse into a heap of sleep. And make sure that I do that, because that's important to me. As if you're good enough to leave a comment, then I feel I do really need to respond. I think it's only polite. Having said that, if my channel gets ridiculously busy, it could be very difficult for me to do that. But, you know, it'll be fine. I'm looking for my blues, which is why you'll hear some strange noises. I've got all my distress inks. I've got almost a complete set of the mini distress inks. I haven't got the latest colours from last year. I need to check to see if they're available as a set of minis yet. But I find the minis are just great for me. I've got some of the big pads, but they just take up so much space on my desk. And my desk isn't very big, though I am thinking of moving stuff downstairs for the summer, especially because it gets very warm upstairs and I don't do well in the warmth. So I shall see what happens, but it won't be today. Okay, so I want a brush because I'm going to use blue, I think, for a stencil. This is one of my favourite ones. I absolutely love this pattern. It's like flowers or little, almost like little boxes. It reminds me a bit of, is it Tripoli, the Zen Tangle pattern? It's a bit like that, but not entirely that. So it sort of like fits well in behind. And I'm talking and I'm not able to make a decision because my brain can't do two things at once today. I think I'll have a bit of broken china. That's a colour. And it's I think it's a warmish blue. And I just think it will sit quite nicely with these colours. We'll have a look. I don't want to make it too dark, but I want it that subtle, and that does work really nicely because it will sort of make a warmer, slightly cooler purple, perhaps I should say. Because although it's a warm blue, it's still a bit cooler than these pinks. So I've got there perhaps a little bit down the bottom here, and perhaps I'll try to get it in more of a less formal shape, and perhaps some in the middle. I'm not trying to make it any kind of shape. If it overlaps the patterns that I've already put down, then I'm fine about that. In fact, there's hardly anything from that one, so I've shifted this a little bit, so it may give me a really weird kind of overlapping, but there's enough there. Yeah, there's enough in the background for me to be happy with that. But I think I may pick up a slightly darker blue. Possibly this one. This is Mermaid Lagoon. And it's a fairly turquoisey blue, I think. it's not exactly turquoise, but it's fairly turquoise. Now I can see where I've got some patterns here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset it just a tiny bit, so that in places we're going to get kind of a shadowing going on, hopefully. I don't know if you can see that, it's almost like a bit of shadowing, but I don't mind when things overlap. It's background, it's not foreground. It just makes things interesting when you come to draw on top of it. And I haven't done this for a while, so it'd be nice to have a wee stockpile of these papers to draw upon. There we are, that's nice. Perhaps just a little bit here in the corner. I think that'll be quite nice there. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. Just scatters around like tiny little flowers. So we pop that to one side so it can dry fully. And then I'm just going to give this a bit of a wipe with my baby wipe here, so that I don't mix colours that shouldn't be mixed, because I don't know what colours I'm going to use next. I'm in the mood for things that are really quite nice. I'll turn my paper over. Yeah, this paper is likely to end up as collage paper for pages as well when I do that collaging thing again, because I really enjoyed that the other day. I really, really did. I'll show you quickly in case you didn't see it. I didn't show you how I collaged and everything, but I worked on a page that had been collaged. It's this one, the Cruffle. And I really like the textures around there, and I like how the patterns lie on top. So I'm really chuffed with that one. Really enjoyed doing that, actually. And it makes all the difference. It's nice to work on plain paper, but there's something so lovely about working on coloured paper. You know, so this is what I'm doing these for. And there's so many different ways of colouring background paper. There really, really is. Okay, I was using blues, so let's go with this. And I think I'll use that Mermaid Lagoon again. Pop. As it pops off the top. And I'm just going to pick some up on a piece of, this is cut and dry foam. There are other brands, this is Rangers, and it's really incredibly difficult to get here in the UK now. Well, it was the last time I got it. I had to wait quite a number of weeks for it to come. I think it came from America or Vera, because Rangers is an American company. And so a lot of companies have stopped shipping over to the UK because of the cost of shipping now here. So I'm not going to comment on that any more than to say it's a pain. And I'm really lucky. I ordered some Speedball Elegant Writers, which are calligraphy pens, but they've got really unusual ink in them that activates with water and gives you these lovely blues and greens and purples, as well as blacks, pinks as well. And when they dry, I think they're supposed to become permanent when they dry. So some arrived at the weekend, but I haven't worked out how I like them at the moment, whether I want to use them in the way that they've come forward. So when I've worked it out, I will share this with you and the effects. I can show you a little bit of the effects, actually. This is going to be a bit of a different video. You do know this, don't you? So this is the Elegant Writer, where I've drawn on the page with it and then used water to get the ink to run. And you know, you start with clear water and then you move it into the ink and let the ink flow as it will. This one was, I scribbled the pen onto my white palette and picked it up that way, and that was really pleasing because the colours come out. I drew the lines here for the writing and activated it, and once it was all dry, I did writing on it. This is picked up from, oh no, I did put the Elegant Writer straight in there. It gives very dark lines, so I'm still struggling to work out how this can work. I did do some examples. Let me see if I can find where I did them in here. Excuse me a moment as I flick through, because it is finding the pages. Because don't forget, I've got so many things in here now. it is really difficult to find things that I've done. I bet you I can't find it now, which will be gutting if that's the case. It will, because I was hoping to show and tell, but perhaps not today by the looks on it. I know it wasn't that far back. Oh, there. So this one was by using the pen to put lines around it. If I turn it right onto its corner, I can get a very fine line. This paper isn't the best for it to work on. It doesn't flow. The other one you saw was watercolour card. And here, and you're picking it up from the palette and dropping it in wet. So it's trying things out and seeing. But it's really quite nice. It's a nice way of getting shadow and light and some colour. And you can get a whole range of colours of these, oh, what do you call them? Elegant writers. But I'm not really that interested in those particularly. Especially, you know, sort of part of me thinks, well, what if I can't get hold of them? My favourite pen shop in the UK, online pen shop, is called Cult Pens. And they've currently got them on a clearance offer. And I'm sort of tempted and sort of not, because, I mean, if I don't like them, and it's always looking for these ways of getting interesting effects and, you know, things like that. So that colour I used there was Peacock Feathers, which is really much more of a greeny colour. You might be able to pick that up. I'm going to see if this one will show up on you. This is Cracked Pistachio. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I absolutely love the colour, but it doesn't always like to show itself up. Not show itself up as embarrass itself, but actually be visible when you use it in combinations. Today it seems to want to cooperate, which is a nice thing. So I've got quite a coolish bluey green background here. And I do want to do some stenciling on the background, but what colour shall I use? Where's my purples? I think I might go for that Seedless Preserve, you know. Yeah, shall I, or Dusty Concord? I might go with Seedless Preserve is a bit too pink, I think. Let's go with Dusty Concord, which is this, and use it very lightly through a stencil. Let's go for this one and use a different pattern. I have got a brush here I can use. Oh gosh, I just haven't put my thingy back for my, that's better. Always put my cut and dry foam back in the correct pot. So let's have a look at this. So I'm just going to put a little bit through here. It's very dark, so I'm going to take some off before I do anything. I'm also going to have a sneeze. I do apologise. Oh dear. Oh. That one snuck up on me. Just popping some of this in the background. It's just for that texture. And I am not dipping my brush back onto the or into the ink pad as I do this. I'm just using what ink is on the brush and on the stencil, so I get paler and paler versions, hopefully. As I go along, I might just need a little bit here now, just to get some colour perhaps going. And that actually suits me, I think, just maybe a little bit there. And that's quite nice, it's different. The nice thing about doing these is I get to play with colour, because I'm saying "cause" a lot today, because I do feel I struggle with colour and colour combinations. But I think the secret for me is going to be keeping them, you know, either complementary colours, which are colours opposite each other on the colour wheel. They look very bright and vibrant together, but they don't mix very well. They can make mud. So I wouldn't use necessarily purple and yellows or oranges here because they would mix and make a yucky, possibly a yucky colour. They might not because it's distress ink, but it would be nice to, let's go for this. I'm not going to try and see because, you know, not today. Let's have a look. Oh, I haven't used Crush Olive in so long. Crush Olive is a lovely yellowy green colour. And it's quite bright, if I remember rightly. Like this. Oh, I've got a bit of paper from somewhere. Oh, it's from the edge of this paper. This must be one of the pieces of paper I had trouble cutting through. When I had two pieces together, I didn't get through the second layer. It's okay. Raggedy edges are fine. It's going in my sketchbook. So that's really garish, isn't it? It's almost glow in the dark, greeny yellow there. Okay, let's get rid of all these bits of paper there. All right, I want to tone this back a little bit because it is a bit in my face. So I am going to go to greens, I think, for this. And I'll find a nice, try and open the lid the right way. I can always tell when I'm a bit on the vague side because simple tasks like opening tins and things the right way just aren't going to happen. This is bundled sage, which is one of my favourite colours in here, I think. I have others that are my favourites. But it's quite a greyish, it's got that greyish greeniness about it. If you think like the colour of dried sage leaves, it's a bit like that, perhaps a bit more vibrant. But this crushed olive underneath is actually working well with it. It's giving that warmth to it, or that hint of, you know, colour to it that I quite like here. I think that's worked quite nicely. Hope you agree. My problem is remembering what colour combinations I've used. I could write it on the back of the paper, but if I'm going to glue it into my sketchbook, that is no use to a man, woman or beast, is it? Because I won't be able to see it. So, but then means that I get to experiment and, you know, I always will, and try new colours within sensible things like, you know, I absolutely know there is no point me doing anything that involves like purple and yellow or purple and orange because it will be yuck, possibly. But I ought to try it just to see. This is Rustic Wilderness, and I'm just going to use that to add a bit of darkness to the corners and perhaps around the edges. There. So I like that. I don't want to use that though to stencil through this. I think I might actually go for a red and green together. I could end up with yuck, but I may not. So let me use that little pattern there. Have I got a red? No, I don't have a red. I've got pink. There's not a red brush in my blending brush set. How interesting. Okay, so for this, I'm wondering, I think I might go with Candied Apple. This one, possibly. Thing is, if I do a little bit in the corner, I try not to pick too much colour up. And let's have a look and see what it looks like through this little section here. Actually, that's okay. It sits on top nicely. And again, I'm going to try not to pick too much colour up on the brush and let it fade out. Swipe it across. I'll brush a lot of it off there and then I'll use it through the... You think you're using a lot of ink when you do this, but there's hardly any ink at all. Oops. That's okay, I'll just pop it like that. Little speckles of red. That actually I quite like. I think that works quite nicely. I don't think I want to do any more than that, but I think that's just enough. Yeah, I think so. Okie dokes. So let's just pop that. And while I've got the candied apple out, I may as well use some of that to create a background. Red would not be my choice for colours, really. It's not my favourite colour. Well, I've warmed to it like I've warmed to oranges over the years. Never used to like orange, the colour. And as much as I like the flavour of orange, oranges really don't like my joints and my stomach very much. So I have to be careful with, you know, citruses. Grapefruit's the worst of the lot. Oh, not good for me in any way, shape or sense. But okay, so what I'm going to do here, pop that back in the tin before I move along, is I'm going to use a green on top of this. So I'm going to swap it around. So for this one, I think I want to use, I'll use evergreen bough, which is a bluey green, or pine needles. Go for pine needles. I know, it's that Christmas kind of vibe in it. Ish. Just clean this up. I'm not going to use this one, but if I clean it up now while I think about it, it'll be nice and clean for the next one then, won't it? It'll dry off. So let me have a look. Let me use this one here. Oh, no. Green. It is a kind of bluey green. So it's quite dark, so I am going to brush a fair amount of it off. Perhaps not that much. Let's have a look. Ooh, like that. It's a bit more green there. So I'm just getting plenty of overlap them, it doesn't matter. It's just background colour and texture and pattern. And that'll be fine. It's like little bubbles-ish, isn't it? Just a bit. So I've got that one. Okay. I like that. This is I always find this quite fun and quite soothing to do. And when I'm not capable of thinking clearly, it's definitely a nice activity for me. And the bonus is I get things stockpiled for another time. So what I'm going to do, I've got plenty of paper left here to colour, but I think there's only so much you can watch possibly. I don't know. I watch people doing all sorts of things on YouTube, including there's some people who do about an hour-long video daily, you know, sort of like almost like live stream, just recorded, no editing, not even no sort of like intro screen or outro screen or whatever, and they make scrap journals and things, and they just spend the time showing how they do things, you know, making a pile of bits and pieces for their scrap journals and chatting about this, that and the other. And it's oddly soothing. So, but I mainly like to draw. So let me just move my distress inks out the way so that I've got some space to work here. Let me put the baby wipe out the way. I'll just put them out the way. I'll tidy my box of distress inks up afterwards. So, you know, do a bit of drawing for a little bit. I spent about half an hour doing this with you. I have thanked you all, haven't I? I have. I've definitely thanked everybody here today, so that's great. All right, so I've got this. So which colour shall I use? Oh, look at that, I've made 5. I thought I'd only done 4. Do you know, I could do with some warmth and sunshine in my day, so I think I might use this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, I think I'll open up tanglepatterns.com, because that's always a good place to go for, I don't know what I want to draw. I haven't got anything in my head. I often don't, but I really don't. And when I create a video, I like to have some kind of idea of what I'm going to do. So let's have a look here, and I'll look down sort of like the list of patterns that are new that are on the page, and I'm going to see if one really attracts me very quickly. We may find that one isn't going to attract me, but we'll have a look. Oh gosh, there's one there, but I'm not going to be able to work through that one. I can just see that. Okay. Oh, this one looks interesting. I haven't seen this one actually. All right, it's called Lirik, and it's by Helena Hadzijaneva, or Lirik. Lirik. God, it's really lovely, and I'll write it down here. Oh, hopefully I'll see it. Yeah. So this one is Lirik, and it's spelled Lirik. And I've got the nib of this is picked up paper from my lettering, my small lettering sketchbook, and it's by Helena. I'm looking for her full name. Hadzijaneva. So that if you want to look the deconstruction up, then if you go to tanglepatterns.com and look up just the title Lirik, you'll find a link to her pattern. And it involves making a grid of circles in pairs. So I've got 2, 6. You leave a fairly lengthy distance between them, and then you put the circles underneath. And again, like this. Now, I've never seen this pattern before, so this is brand new to me. But it's got that feeling of, you know, all these lovely patterns like Well and so on. So let's have a look at how this works. Okay, it's drawing S shapes that go across like this. Okay, and then I just need to check that I'm on. Yeah, I can move over this way a little bit. And then you go across in the other direction. And I'm going to go across the way like this. I'm most probably making mine just a little bit more on the bendy side. But then on the row below, I think, oops, just clicked on and gone to the next pattern. Yeah, I can see. So the next row down, you don't start here and do this pattern again. You move one over for the repeats. So we're going to go like this, like so. So the pattern is staggered, and then we go back to the original way here. So in knitting this would be called, or crochet, it'd be called a 2-row repeat. Like so. And then for these end ones, we can't do anything with them because you need something to, we could do though, because they do cross over sort of in the middle, don't they? So if I was to put a dot there and a dot there, then we can actually get them going like so, because they overlap on the opposite side of the circle each time, and then we get that shape there. So that's really quite sweet. Now what Helena has done is in these sections, not where the X's are, the crossovers, but in between, she's popped a diamond shape like this. So you just need to find those spaces. Just to pop them in like that. Isn't that sweet? I like that. And she's coloured these in black. I think I'm going to do something a bit different though. Rather than colour them all in black, or colour them totally in black. Distress inks are a pain. They need plenty of time to dry, and they do affect the absorbency of the paper. So my ink is feathering out from my pen like nobody's business. Well, it's not as bad as it could be, and it's not as bad as I'm making it out, but it's noticeable to me that I'm getting a much broader line from this fountain pen than I normally would. If you're interested, this is a TWSBI Eco Tank, and I've got Documentus ink from, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's an archival ink that dries quite quickly, and it's waterproof when it's dry, and it's got archival quality. It's used in registry offices and legal practices and so on for signing official documents, and it's safe to leave in fountain pens for as long as you need it to. It doesn't clog it up and dry out and mess the pen up like other permanent inks would. And it really is waterproof, and it's lovely to write with. I like it. There are other inks that do this, I think, but this is the first one I found, and I'm happy with it. Okay, so actually I think I might go back and just fill some of these in completely in black, because then we've got two halves, haven't we? So you can see that we've got options like this. I think that's really rather sweet. So let me have a look, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a bigger gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 between these, and perhaps make the vertical distance between them just a little bit narrower than in the other example. I'll have a look at variations. And perhaps one more repeat would be quite nice. I haven't put any pencil grids in here, I'm just eyeballing it, and it's gone a bit wonky, but I'm fine with wonky today. It suits me. I'm feeling a bit on the wonky side. Now, I didn't get that one right, did I? Got that one right, but not this one. I've gone to the wrong side of the circle, but I'll do it like that. And I'm drawing the opposite direction, but you might want to do all the ones going this way and then flip the paper, because will you get it going? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about here. It's thinking about how easy if it's easier to turn your paper to draw these lines going in the opposite direction. The answer is I'm not entirely sure. I've been drawing it from the bottom up, neither second one, so from the top down makes it a bit easier. And again, I'm going to put those dots there so that I can finish the edges off as if we've got that cross going on. What I have noticed is that here I've got almost a heart shape. So let me have a look. So I've got a heart shape here. Not very easy to fit them in, I have to say that, but I can see what's happening, and I think that I'd be better off having the longer shapes between them, but we'll carry on, because that's something for me to consider now going forward, isn't it? So just very quickly fill all of that in with these little heart shapes. Definitely getting heart shapes. There we are, we've disguised that line by making it part of the heart. When you've got a longer gap there, so let me just do that with a couple of these. Perhaps if I do 3, 4 and extend this, and perhaps just put another row down here, and I'm making these ones wider. Oh gosh, that's really going wide. Going from the outsides, and then we miss one and we stagger them. So this will be a really, and I've completely messed up, haven't I? It should have gone there. What an idiot. This is what happened. This is why I should not be let loose with things when I've got a migraine. But let me have a look, because we can still go here. But there's a distinct, perhaps even if you don't put a heart shape in, there's a little shape that could go in there. That reminds me of a shape you can get in a variation of well. So curved that way and the opposite curve there, so it's like a little shield shape. So they bend outward there, bend inward there. Then I think I would still want to pop something like that there, and we'd have one here like that. But I think instead of adding black to that, I might just fill it with some lines. Can't believe I messed that up. Well, actually I can. This is an extra fine nib, the other one's a fine nib. But just to get the contrast. Okay, let me just try this again. So I'll ignore all of these. So let me have a look. Let's have some breathing space between the circles. Now I'm not going to get the, like a multiple repeat here, but I think I'll get enough to make sense of this. like so, and then like so, and then this is the one that we do half of these crossed lines, and up here we're going to do half of these crossed lines as well. And I'm trying to figure out how we can finish these ends off, because oh, that's what Helena did. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, we've got, what she did as well is she created these into little spirals to complete the top and the bottom of them. So we could, I'm looking at how they go. So we do have them going in the opposite direction. So we could have little spirals on the top that finish this off. But I'm also looking at how we could create a shape here to complete it. We could do it hugging style, but that wouldn't fit in. But I think if we did perhaps something like that, that would give a different kind of feeling, and perhaps go back to her original pattern there. I'm not sure about those at the bottom. Certainly the bits at the top work, don't they? I don't know why. I wasn't going to do that there, was I? But it's almost like we could do with something that goes, that fills this little gap in, perhaps. I don't know. It's an interesting pattern, isn't it? I'm struggling to find variations. But let's have a look again and try one more. It may be that I'm just not doing a big enough grid, so I can't see the possibilities. It could be that the migraine is just in the way of my creative brain. So let me have a look. So we're going to go like so, like so, and then we're going to go here. So we're staggering these kisses. And then these edges, we're just going to complete half the crosses. I'm looking at these to think, how will these create half a cross? So I've got these coming down. So we'd have half a cross going up that way. So let's have a look. We'd have half a cross going this way, wouldn't we? So that completes some of the edges, but then we've got this here. So how would they go? They don't, do they? And that perhaps is where we could, I don't know. Odd one. Could do it like that. I think I'd need another row for me to feel comfortable about this, because there's an uneven number here. And then we can have that there, that there. Feels a bit better to me. It's not perfect. But we've got these. Let's pop these in. maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, and that I really need, instead of an edge as it is like this, is we need something a little bit different. I wonder what happens what if I connect these this way? That makes a nicer, neater edge if we're going to have this as a free-floating kind of pattern. And I'm getting these little shield shapes almost appearing here, like this. I quite like that. It adds a bit more complexity to the design. But I quite like that, and there's lots of ways of bringing that complexity out, isn't there? It's bound to be. Let me just switch to my fine pen, because I can close my Google down now. Okay, and let's just have a look at this quickly. I think these ones I'm going to, and just for now I'm going to put a square or diamond shape in the middle, and I'm just going to fill that with some lines rather than try to fill it in its entirety. So it's starting to add that sense of contrast there. Okay, I've done them all, haven't I? These ones, I'm almost tempted to do an aura like this, which doesn't go round. We could do it so it connects to the circles, I suppose. But I quite like it like that, and I'm tempted to make it like as if it's a fan or that kind of pattern. It'll work either way you connect the lines or the edges. So if I do these that way, I think I'm going to have to go back. Oops, that's okay. Okay, let me just do that one like this. And then for this last couple here, I'll do this one the same as that one. So we've got that plain border between them. But I wonder what it would be like if I just filled these in with these curving lines. Without that border. It works, doesn't it? Because the lines are going in opposite directions. They're only meeting in the central point. So there's different ways of doing that. I quite like this here where we've got this border around the inside shape though. I'm just going to fill this with black ink because I think that will work. The lines in these boxes are too similar, or the density of ink is too similar to the little leaf shapes, if I can call them that, little shield shapes, or whatever they are. Yeah, that I like that. That's worked. And I think it's what I was trying to get here, is that kind of shape, picking that shape out. I think it would work. That one would work. This one I made a horrible mess with there and there. The hearts could work, but it's about, I think it's about stretching these, or giving myself enough space there to create that, possibly. I don't know. But I like the way these have been connected. So they're connected. The connection would be from, if I do it in here, rather than draw another grid. So the connection would be from there and from there, there and there. And I think that just, it's more complex, yes, but it's only one more step. And I think it just seems to make things feel that much better, you know, a bit better there. I don't know. What do you think? How do I explore patterns? Sometimes I do really well, sometimes I struggle. And this one I thought would be great for variations, but I think it's going to be quite difficult to deal with those, you know, the variations I'd like to have here. What I am going to do though is, I have got that piece of paper. It's my bit of paper towel I was using to keep my fingers clean while I was using distress inks. What I'm going to do is just pop a white cross in the middle of these, perhaps. Now the gel pen won't pick up the black ink because my black ink is permanent, but it's likely to pick up distress ink, so I may be putting the effort in of putting white circles here for nothing, but it is what it is, and don't know until you try, do you? So that adds that little spot of whiteness. Here, draw an inner circle or an inner aura, but I also could pop dots to connect things as well, which would be quite nice. I'm a bit tempted to pop some highlights around the edge of these, but I know somebody's going to want me to do some shadows, so let me get my, I've got a tortillon, I've got this purpley grey, what do you call it, chalk pastel here, so I'm just putting some shadow at the base of these little almost like leaf shapes or arrowheads, and let's see how a little bit of shadow there as I've just popped them where I've just put some gel ink, so that's going to work well. Okie dokes, let's have a look. It's just that little hint of a shadow helps to set the points of these backwards. I quite like that purpley grey. I think this is my favourite pencil, apart from I've got very dark bluey grey as well, bluey black. And they are my favourite for adding shadow. I like chalk pastels because they are not shiny, but they create these lovely shadows. So that's made a difference, hasn't it? It's really brought these to the forefront. And I'm just going to add some shadows where those original X's are and they cross. So I just want to see if I can get a bit of shadow in this border behind, or the border around these diamonds. I could put it at the edge, but I just think somehow to have it here as if there's a fold almost could be beneficial. It may not be, but all we can do is try. I don't want the shadow to go too far. The nice thing about rubbing this into the paper is it will get rubbed into the fibres of the paper, so it would be less easy to move. Somebody asked me a question about using pan pastels or chalk pastels for backgrounds and fixing them. I did watch something the other day, and the person who was answering a similar question from one of her subscribers was using white school glue, PVA glue, and putting the pastel onto a piece of paper. Well, she was using a craft mat, but anything that, you know, a sheet of plastic, anything, and then mixing the school glue with the chalk pastel and then spreading it on paper, or putting the chalk pastel down and then using the glue. But bear in mind, the chalk will mix in with the glue, same as gel medium or gesso, it will colour it. But you could work in layers, as I showed you in the video the other day. So hopefully the person who asked me that, I'm sorry I can't remember your name, is watching and will hear that, and we'll give that a go if necessary. She also mentioned the trick of using hairspray to fix the pastels in place, and she preferred Spectrafix. I never had much luck with Spectrafix, I have to say. But each to their own. So that's adding some. It's adding some highlight shadow. I mean, just on the bottom line here, just add that a little bit of shadow towards the bottom edge here and in the corner there. And let's see if some shadowing right in the tip there will help with that feeling of dimension. I may have added too much. There is such a thing as too much shadow, you know. There is. There we go. Does that... Actually, that does work much better. I'm looking up at the screen myself here because it gives me that distance away from it, and it's like looking at it new, which I can hold this at arm's length and I still can't see what's what, but on the screen for some reason it looks different, therefore it is different. And yeah, minds are strange things, aren't they? The way we perceive things. And everybody's a bit different. So that does make a bit, that does actually work quite nicely, and I think that if I was to pop some white dots there to increase that sense of highlight and sparkle, where the highlight and sparkle is, then that will help to bring that out that little bit more, and especially where the chalk has overlapped too much. So I'm just dotting it down. I'm not trying to draw lines in. Dots feel more sparkly to me. With lines always feel a little bit artificial or contrived. But that's my personal aesthetics. And if that's what you like to do, by all means do it. So yeah, so there we go. From that to that. Is there much of a difference? Possibly. You know, I've overcomplicated things, but that's my nature. I tend to overcomplicate things and get into really fussy, fancy, schmancy stuff. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me. It is just over an hour. And I think I did stop the Distress Inks after about 30 minutes. I'll put a note in the description box of the video that if you want to, skip over the background making and going straight to this and seeing me make a mess, you can do so. But I think in the end it's worked out. I got there. I like that. And I bet there's other variations on this theme I could do, but not here, not now. But maybe I will while the video's processing and what have you. So all it takes for me is to say thank you very much for sticking with me. I hope the fact that I've made mistakes shows that we all do, and there's nothing wrong in that, and that I'm not going to edit them out because that will give a false representation of what happens when I'm exploring a pattern. If I was ever going to do a book of things like this, then I would make sure that everything I do is perfect, or as near perfect as I can get it, you know, perfectly imperfect. But this isn't. This is me exploring, experimenting with a brand new pattern to me. I like this. It's got a lot of dimension to it. I'm looking at that one. This is lovely, but I really like this. I'm chuffed with myself for that. Anyway, take care. Look after yourselves. Don't worry about me and my migraine. I'll be fine, honestly. It's the headache pills are beginning to kick in and I'm beginning to feel very sleepy. So let me get the video edited and up before I collapse back in bed. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, minus the headache, on the next video. And please look after yourselves, take care, and be creative. Bye-bye.